Good afternoon. Welcome to Midcap Radar. I am Reema Tendulkar. With me is Prashant Nair, and markets continue to power ahead for the fifth consecutive session. We're now looking at levels of 12,230 on the Nifty. It's a 100-point rally that you're staring at. It's a 1% gain. The Nifty Bank continues to do well. And this comes at a time when Asian markets are actually on the flatter side. The Hang Seng is mildly in the red, while the Korean markets are absolutely flat. We're awaiting the early rates from the European market, but our markets are powering on the back of strong earnings. So just take a look at some of the numbers which have come through in the last 30 minutes. And all of them are reporting beats, especially at the margin line. So Voltas reported margins of 6.1% versus estimates of 5%. For MRF, margins went up, profits went up by a whopping 80% on a year-on-year basis. For FACT, or FACT, the fertilizer company, margins have improved from 8% a year ago to 13%, and that the better than expected earnings season is driving the up move across most of the markets. Numbers coming in from Manappuram General Finance as well, which is where the profits are down close to about 5.5%. More color will come in from Manappuram in just a bit. But Prashant, this is looking like a very strong screen that we're staring at. It's an over 5% rally, at least for the benchmark indices so far this week. And we're not alone. Global markets have rallied too, right?
In India, FII has net bought about $720 million worth of stock in the cash market, and they bought about $460 million in the futures market. This is just yesterday. For the last 5 days, we are up almost 5% in dollar terms. But I mean, if you think that this is just about India, it's an India-specific phenomenon, I mean, you would be wrong. Think again. Look at what has happened in Korea yesterday. I looked at figures which showed that foreigners bought $1 billion worth of stock in Korea in the cash and futures market, and this is the single highest day, the single sort of largest inflow since 2008. That's far back you have to go. Now, the returns have really been eye-popping, and let's look at the numbers, which I think will tell you the story. I'm just looking at the last 5 sessions, nothing else. And sort of to compare returns, I've normalized these in dollar terms and not local market currency. So the S&P 500 is up 6% over the last 5 days. NASDAQ is up 6% plus. For all the other markets that you see here, what I've done is I've taken the benchmark indices. So Japan is up 5.5%, Hong Kong is up 7%, Australia is up 7.7%, and you could look at other regions as well. So UK, which is, actually Europe has done phenomenally well. That may also be because Europe was, the underperforming region out of all of them. 7.5% for FTSE. France, the CAC 40 index up 11%. Germany up 10%. You want to look at Latin America, something like Brazil, that market is up 8% as well. So actually, over the last 5 days, the returns here in India are on the lower side as compared to some of these returns we are looking at from markets around the world. So what has happened? What is leading to this? I'm going to put out 4 factors. Some of this I've been sort of talking about now for the last 2 weeks. This one specifically, number one, US stimulus is a certainty irrespective of who wins. I've said this before, the fight always was about whether it should be $2 trillion or $3 trillion, right? But it will come. It may get a little delayed, but the point is that the stimulus will come. The second point is about the fact that, and I think this is not new, but this is something which I think comes into sharp focus once in a while, the Fed is far more important for the direction for financial markets as compared to who occupies the White House, whether it is Biden or whether it is Trump. And this has been true now for the last, I think since the global financial crisis, or some would say even before that. So I think this is a very more basic fundamental factor. And if you heard the Fed chair, Jeremy Powell, yesterday, he did not pass on the buck to say, so now we've done our job, it's up to the fiscal side of things. He said, well, we still have powerful tools and we will remain flexible to support recovery and growth. Point number 3, and I think this is kind of something which will come into focus, which is this new wave of lockdowns, especially in Europe that we've seen. Large countries have gone into second lockdowns again. But some of this is getting neutralized by vaccine hopes. Remember, guidance from big pharma companies all suggests that we will get phase 3 efficacy results in the second half of this month. So while lockdowns will hurt growth in the last quarter of the year in these big economies, and it will have an impact, the point is markets are looking through it because they think there will be some positive vaccine sort of data which will keep things supported. And the last point, which I think has been a little overlooked and underappreciated, is that the world's largest asset manager, BlackRock, upgraded emerging markets, their view on emerging markets on Monday, earlier this week. And I mean, you know, we're basically looking at 5-day returns. So it in a way coincides with that big call from BlackRock, which has come through. So, I mean, a bunch of things coming together. And this week, really, I mean, actually the last 5 days, really pretty good for equity markets around the world.
Absolutely, Prashant. And now we're just 200 points away from our all-time high levels of 12,430. We're talking at the Nifty line. The Nifty is at 12,240. The all-time high level is 12,430, 200 points away. We'll slip into a short break. Numbers from IOB are flashing on your screen. There is the NII has gone up by 30%. There is some improvement in the asset quality. We'll get chatting with the management in sometime later on in the show. But for now, it's a commercial break. Stay tuned.
242 is where we are at right now. So lots of numbers, by the way, coming in. I think Rima mentioned the names like Voltas, MRF. There is CESE, which is flashing at the bottom of the screen. I saw Alkem Laboratories numbers flashing. There was Indian Overseas Bank numbers, which were also on the screen just 5 minutes back. Alkem is seen almost, 27% profit growth. CESE numbers showing that revenues are absolutely flat. And, you know, the profit number for CESE will also come up on your screen. Stock is up about 2%. So, I mean, you know, the numbers are coming in thick and fast. Bank of India, of course, reported earlier on. Mr. A.K. Das, the Managing Director and CEO of the bank, is now joining us to take some questions. So thanks very much for your time. Good to have you here. Let me just begin with asking you what the slippages are and what your gross non-performing sort of portfolio is at this point in time. And if you can sort of outline the gross NPA number and what it would have been without Supreme Court dispensations.
Slippages have been very less in Q1 and Q2, so those numbers will not be realistic, I believe. So generally, the Supreme Court orders, I think we have slippages have been, as compared to, it is 402 crore as of June quarter and 274 crore in September quarter.
Mr. Das, without the Supreme Court dispensation, where would asset quality have been?
That figure I will not be having readily with me, but I'm sorry about that.
Okay, if you could tell us how many assets have come up for restructuring up until now?
The eligible accounts are about 3 lakh plus, but as of now we have received, this is eligible amount is about 3 lakh plus with about 24,000 crore. But so far we have received only about 500 crore, involving about 6,000 crore. I think people are still in a wait and watch mode. Corporate accounts, we have received about 34 applications amounting to 5,000 crore, and non-corporate about 474 crore. But out of this 3,10,000, predominantly almost 2,90,000 are in retail and MSME space. Corporate, as in other banks, the response has been quite muted.
So, Mr. Das, in the corporate accounts, how many of them are the large corporates, say, you know, over 1,500 crores, who have asked for a revamp?
Yeah, there are two in the 1,000 plus category.
Mr. Das, what has collection efficiency been at?
Now, about 67% collection efficiency is there with us. And we expect that because we have seen steadily there is an improvement from about 51% moratorium what we had given, almost it has come down to 31% as of now. And previously also, about 10% accounts are only who had not paid 2 or less than 2 installments. So I think right from the beginning, our collection have been quite robust. There was no, say, only 936 crore now remain, where we are trying to sort it out and we are engaging with the customers. There are no major concerns on that count.
Mr. Das, what has been the net interest margin in the quarter, and what is the trajectory likely to be from here, next 2 quarters?
We have improved it, though not very substantially. That is about NIM has from 2.48, it has come up to 2.66 global, and sequentially it has gone up from 2.73 to 2.88. So this is primarily driven by our good NII growth, both sequentially as also Q on Q, and notwithstanding about 135 basis points rate transmission that we have done during the last 1.5 years.
And can you improve your margins further from here on?
Margins, I believe, will be a pressure point. Only way to get over the margin pressures is to go for volume increase in our loan book. We have done well so far compared to the industry banking system as a whole. We have done well. We are well ahead of the curve, and our RAM sector it has grown by about 6% YTD. That's a good number considering the COVID and other situations. And RAM growth is about 10% year on year also. So we are now trying to, the festival season has started. There is good uptick visible now in the market. I think remainder of the Q3 and Q4 we are going to see good. Once there is a volume growth pickup, I think we can offset the margin pressure. So we will be basically aiming between 2.75 and 3%.
Actually, sir, I wanted to get your thoughts in on advances, because both on a quarter-on-quarter as well as on a year-on-year basis, your advances are lower. It stands at 3.61 lakh crore. Was that a conscious decision? And going ahead, with the economy improving, do you see a pickup in your advances?
Yeah, I'll explain that. Basically, you are looking at the aggregate picture. When we see domestic, we have grown by almost 3%. We are in positive territory. It's because of certain prepayments, repayments in the international arena to the extent of about 11,000 crore, which has kind of upset our global position. Otherwise, domestically, we are quite in the positive territory.
So now you have you would have some assessment of how much more can asset quality deteriorate because of COVID risks panning out. Can you give us some guidance there?
I believe it will not be significant, primarily for two reasons. One is we are not exposed that much to the COVID-sensitive sectors, be it aviation, be it your hospitality and other sectors. So that way, the impact will be minimum. Second, we have done certain proactive provisions. I think our PAT looks little understated, according to me, because if you look at the provision numbers, compared to 1,500, we have done 2,300 this quarter. It's almost 800 crore, over and above the mandated provisioning. Basically, we have tried to take care for two advantages. One is we are, making ourselves immune to any possibilities of shocks in the subsequent quarters. And second, there will be good write-back option for us. So by doing so, by booking a little lesser net profit, we have tried to provide that too to the extent of 800 crore, and including 105 crore in SMA 012 accounts. We had already done 10% in Q4 and Q1, which was about 1,000 crore. Now we have done another 105 crore just to absorb possible shocks, if any.
Any capital raising plans in the near future, Mr. Das?
We got board approval for about 8,000 crore. We are waiting till December quarter. Maybe Q4 early, we will hit the market with a combination of 81 as also a QIP issue, amounting both maybe around 2,400, 500 crore.
So no equity capital raising, sir?
As of now, no. As of now, it is not there, because I think we are waiting till March 21. After coming out of PCM, it has been a very tough journey for us. We have somehow managed. We have brought down our all triggers well below the mandated. So we need to have a little stable, kind of growth path, which we are, and maybe Q3, Q4 after, we will take a call on that.
Okay, Mr. Das, thank you very much. Good speaking with you and appreciate your time here on CNBC TV 18. We'll take a quick break here. The market's up 130 odd points. But as we do that, a quick reminder, CNBC TV 18 and the National Stock Exchange have come together to promote investor awareness through a special campaign, Informed Investor, that aims to empower you to make the right decisions with your money. Well, just the way we examine our child's report card before signing, an investor must read all investment-related documents carefully. Remember, an informed investor is one who signs only after reading the documents and ensures that he's better safe than sorry. Okay, welcome back. The market's up a little bit more, just a little bit more. 135 points now is what we have. Numbers from IOL Chemicals at the bottom of the screen. This is a it's a bulk drug API manufacturer largely, and it's one of the best performing API stocks out there. Revenues are up 19% for the quarter, and I think the profit number also, the EBITDA, the operating profit is up 29% year on year, 171 crores. Margins have also expanded from 29.6 to 32.1%. So it looks like a superset from IOL. Stocks up 2.5%. But we are sort of jumping from one PSU bank to another one. We spoke with the Bank of India management just before that break. And, while we were doing that, the Indian Overseas Bank also reported numbers. Mr. Partha Pratim Sengupta is Managing Director and CEO of the bank, and he's joining us right now to take some questions. Profits have come in at 148 crores compared to a loss which we saw same period last year. Net interest income has also grown about 30% at 1,561 crores. Asset quality has been steady. It's actually, the level of NPAs has come off. Net NPA at 4.3% compared to 5.1%. Mr. Sengupta, thanks for joining in. Prashant here. Can you first sort of outline what you saw in the quarter, sir? Numbers seem sort of steady. I think this is the third quarter in a row that you're reporting a profit for.
Yeah, so this is for the third consecutive quarters we are posting profit, and there is I would say the balance sheet is gradually becoming much healthier, and we have made quite adequate provisions. One good thing in this quarter is that whatever the reduction you are seeing in the gross NPA and in the net NPA is not because of write-offs. We have just written off only 35 crores during this quarter, and the entire thing of around 750 crores have come from cash recovery, which is a great sign, I would say, for recovery of this bank. And if you look at the quarter-to-quarter figures, there has been a substantial improvement on all parameters, because last year the operating profit was only 746 crores, which has grown up to 1346. The net profit, as you have said, from a huge loss of 2,254, it has come up with a profit of 148 crores. The GNPA, the NNPA, the cost to income is definitely very good. And one very plus point is that our PCR has almost gone to 89%, which is, I think, one of the best in the banking industry. And even our gross NPA PCR, that is also more than 70%, is close to 71%. So we are making our balance sheet stronger, and so that any future impact that can come, we will be able to withstand it.
Sir, I just wanted to understand what would have been the NPA ratios without the Supreme Court's dispensation on asset quality? Yeah,
so in the September quarter, there was a slippage of around 238 crores, which we just could not book. So that would just increase our ratio by another 15 basis points. So not much to that. In fact, that is where we are just now giving much stress on recovery part, and mainly on cash recovery. And that is the great satisfaction that has come to us, that this time we have reduced our NPAs through cash recoveries and not through write-offs.
Mr. Sengupta, where is collection efficiency at?
Yeah, collection efficiency has tremendously improved. As I've told you that when we are looking into the first 5 months, so I would say that there is a the graph is just gradually going steeper. And during the September, it is almost a month, it has reached the pre-COVID level. So that has also improved, and going forward also, we are in negotiations with various borrowers. So we are giving much importance on OTS also. And so that we are also doing it, and also we are looking for other opportunities. Plus we are awaiting some good results from NCLT also. So that I would say that going forward, there will be much positive impact on our recovery side. And one good thing is that I just want to share that COVID provision is also 681 crores, which is close to 5% of my loan book. And when we started the COVID provisioning, the total amount eligible was 4,600, which has actually come down to 3,800, close to 3,900 crores. The provisioning would have been close to 400, but this time we have decided to provide also on the interest income that we have booked. So the question is that more such restructuring now taking place, and if the success rate is good, we can book all these provisions as income, which we have already provided for. So that is another good thing that in future we can make our balance sheet much stronger. That is what we are very much optimistic about.
Okay, sir, actually, if you could just tell us what is your own expectation of the NCLT recovery and also the size of your moratorium book and how much of that, according to you, could slip into NPAs?
Yeah, so that's what I have said, that close to 5% of my books as we have provided for COVID provisioning. And we are expecting that there will be hardly any slippage on account of that, because we are not much exposed to the stress sectors. So that is our exposure is not in the aviation, and our exposure very minimum in the hotel and other travel industry. So that is one reason I can say that we are not looking at already good MSME accounts. We have started restructuring. Retail fraud collection is very good, and agriculture we are also growing. So going forward, I think not much of these will be slipping, and we have already taken that into our account. So whatever the slippages that will be happening will be offset by the recovery, because we have got a huge field NPA due to legacy reasons and other things, and those are now coming back. On the NCLT front, yes, now we hope that things will be going back to normalcy and more resolutions would be taking place. We are quite hopeful. And so definitely looking forward for March quarter, there will be much more recovery.
Mr. Sengupta, thank you very much for your time. Good to have you here. And thank you for running us through the numbers. And I mean, things looking much better, as you said. And the rate of improvement has only picked up over the last month and a half, as you pointed out again. Well, I think that also gets us to a close on the show. But lots of more numbers to track, and they've been coming in very fast over the last couple of hours. As we wrap up this edition, getting you this festive season, CNBC TV 18 has been talking to important market veterans, and what they would like to share is market lessons for you, which are some of the evergreen recipes for success in the market. Gautam Shah of Goldilocks Premium Research with an important tip for traders and investors alike. Listen in, your stocks comes up after this quick break.
Here's wishing all the viewers of CNBC TV 18 a very happy Diwali. May you have the best of health and wealth. When the one learning takeaway from 2020 is to respect price action. I think in today's world, we live with a lot of noise. And if we do not respect price, it can really impact our decision making. So to outperform the markets and to be in sync with what indices and financial markets are doing, it's important to respect price. And that's my learning takeaway from this year. Thank you.